One thing is for certain, if you want to increase power on the bike, decrease pain on the bike, increase your FTP, and better be able to handle your bike, you're going to want to get a bike fit. In today's video, I am joined by Viktor Sitalo, who is a pro bike fitter with Wolfie's High Performance Center and Gebiomized Concept Lab in Abu Dhabi. And we touch on all the subjects about questions that people have asked me to ask a bike fitter. Without further ado, hope you enjoyed this interview, and let me know in the comments if you have any other questions that you want answered. Victor, thank you for joining me today in our little YouTube video. I appreciate your time and coming out here.
Thank you, Elie. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me today on your podcast. Yeah.
My absolute pleasure. Okay, so we have a few things to go over. I kind of want to start. You are at Wolfie's High Performance Center, and you're specializing in the, I want to say this right, Gebiomized. Am I saying that right? Or
Gebiomized, richtig? Yeah, it's a German word, quite complicated. Yeah, to pronounce.
My apologies. Gebiomized. Let's hope I said that one right. Gebiomized bike fitting. So, can you tell me a little bit about the difference between what a bike fitting like that would look like versus a local bike fit, from a local bike shop? Because I've done both. I went to a local bike shop. They just put me on a trainer real quick. They looked at my position. They did a few tweaks, and then, half an hour I was out of there. Whereas when I came to you and we did a bike fit, it was a nice, long, intensive process. You're asking about, what kind of riding I do, my stats, my height, my weight. You're doing measurements. You're doing stuff like that. So what's the difference and why is that important?
Yeah, thank you. Actually, it's a very good question, and I hope it's like your audience can find it very helpful, useful. So basically, any kind of their opinion, like side opinion about your position, it's always good because it's quite difficult to judge are you good on a bike or not. I mean, some of your friends might think that you are like sitting wrong, and they will give you like thousands of very weird advices. But generally, it's a good idea to do the bike fitting. So the main difference between the quick fit, such kind of the service is also available here in UAE, like in Dubai, in Abu Dhabi, where I'm representing the KBOMI studio. The quick setup is just about their position overview, I would say. Sometimes and quite often the bike fitters who is providing such kind of service using some simple applications on a smartphone, on a tablet, and some of these applications also using AI. So it's possible to measure your basic angles such as their back tilt, the shoulder angle,
Elbow
the knee
flexion,
extension
stuff
angle.
like that.
Yeah, ankle angle as well. And basically that's it. So like this kind of like bike fit, it's like very preliminary kind of setup, what you can get for like this short period of time. And the proper bike fit, I like the idea that you couldn't really, as a bike fitter, I couldn't judge are you good or not on your bike before I will get better to know about your body, about
Right.
any kind of discrepancies you might have, about your current flexibility, because maybe you are currently today way different compared with you like 3 months ago.
Right.
If you improved in your flexibility, you did like stretching or physio or whatever, it might affect in a good way your position and your body capacity. So the good bike fit usually starts from the pre-fit assessment. So if you plan to visit their bike store nearby and you want to do the bike fit, it's a good sign if the bike fitters start with you from their questioning viewer, like what are you up to right now? What is your current goals? What is your riding style? Are you preparing for something, or you are like coffee right Sunday warrior?
Right.
and then the following step is the pre-fit assessment. Yeah, this is I would say the biggest difference, because the modern bike fitting techniques, like we have various of their technologies and systems provided on the market. All of them are quite precise. Most of them are using the motion capture as a main system. What means motion capture? The idea came from Hollywood, from movies. So the idea is to actually record the video, like from the high-speed cameras, and get understanding about your position, about your motions. So some systems we use the side cameras and front cameras. Some of the systems we are very precise. We're using 4 up to 6, 8 cameras around your body. So
Wow.
with all sensors or markers on your body, on some reference point of your body, the bike fitter able to analyze like the motions in all your body, like analyze the amount of stability or
Hmm.
instability once you are pedaling, and all this happen in a dynamic once you are pedaling. This is very important. So like
Right.
the good bike fitting also needs to be done on a trainer, or if it's possible outdoor as well. Some
That's
systems
interesting.
also allow to do the bike fit outdoor.
That's
Yeah.
interesting. So I know we also used like a pressure mapping system where you were, when I was sitting on the saddle, you were kind of mapping out the pressure and seeing what's happening there. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, true. So like I mean, we are in 21st century, and like also like there's some technologies we are pretty unique, and one of these technologies provided by the Gedeomeister. And I'm working with guys already since back in St. Petersburg in Russia, where I had my own biking studio, and uh, basically what means the pressure mapping. The bike bike fitting generally it's also about the contact points on the bike. And if we
Right.
will think about the contact points, what kind of contact points we have on the bike?
You got
The
hand,
main
hand,
contact point,
butt, and feet, right?
yeah, the saddle, the handlebar, and I would say pedals is like the third contact point, but it's not exactly the contact point because their pedals always in a dynamic, we're always moving. So
Right.
let's say the saddle and handlebar is the main contact point. So
Mhm.
the Gewillmeist allows you to see what's going on a contact point. So you have a unique opportunity to check what's going on in a saddle, because it's difficult to judge how do you see on a saddle. Is it the correct size of the saddle? Is it the correct width and the general shape? Or maybe the size and the shape is correct. Maybe the position of the saddle is wrong. So if you
Mm.
carefully look at your current saddle, anyone can check, and you will be surprised actually how many adjustments possible to do with your saddle. So you can adjust the saddle height, but yeah, obviously you can adjust the saddle tilt, but
Right.
also you can adjust the saddle forward position. So like
Mhm.
we have a 3 axle almost like to adjust the position of the saddle. So it's a lot of adjustments. And why pay attention about the saddle especially, because this is the main contact point.
Right.
Part of our weight is
Yeah. Weighted.
doesn't matter what kind of bike is it. Is it a road bike or a time trial bike?
So that's
Most
a
part of our
question I was going to ask.
yeah.
How does a different discipline like a road bike, time trial bike, even gravel affect the setup? You know, when you're working with an athlete, how does knowing that, okay, this athlete is going to be competing in a time trial affect that setup on the bike?
Yeah, actually significantly. So let's think about let's start from like the most popular bikes all around the world. Like let's say this is like city bikes, like bikes for recreational kind of riding, daily
Right.
riding. Most part of your weight, most part of your weight is located on the saddle once you are on a city bike, and
Right.
you are sitting quite upright, and it's completely understandable. You wearing their like your casual wear, like, and the casual shoes, and you don't need to be like any kind of sportive or aero position. Uh, and the road bike, you will find yourself tilted much more forward, so your pelvic rotated more in anterior way, and yeah, so weight distributed in a different way. So that's why some many of riders weigh. So I mean, look at the modern road bikes. They are beautiful, like the cutting edge technologies. They so light. Most of them around 7 or below 7 kilos. Like
Right.
it's amazing. So obviously, once you're going to their uh, to the bicycle store, you want one of these super bikes because they looks fast. And it's true, you need to apply much less force to ride fast on such bikes. Compare like with bikes from decades ago, this is very
Oh,
different.
of course.
Much easier to hold the speed. But these bikes will require also something from your side. They
Hmm.
require some physical capacities such as their flexibility, for example. And of course, on that bikes, you are sitting much aggressively, I would say. So like you tilted much more forward. And that moment, not every athlete can adapt to this position. And many of them we try to stay upright, and that causes a lot of issues because if you sit on a road bike upright and if you think about what this bike developed for, you will find some very controversial things. The first of all, the road bikes we are stiff. That means that all
Yep.
vibrations which comes from the surface you're riding will
You're
come
feeling.
directly to your spine if you are sitting upright. So
Hmm.
idea behind to sit more forward, to lean forward, is also to distribute this, to absorb these vibrations better. So
Right.
I would say this is the geometry of the bikes is the main difference. And if we touch the topic, like the huge topic about time trial bikes, about the bikes for triathlon, we will find that on a triathlon bike, you shift it much more forward. You can see like some impressive videos from triathlon world championship, how
Hmm.
their pro riders, amateur riders, how we're riding. We lean a lot on the front, on the cockpit, and your weight distributed in a different way on the bike because you have a quite significant support in the front, the extensions with arm caps, so you can
Hmm.
you can load their arm caps much more compared with the regular road handlebar, and that's how you can stabilize your bike, and that's how you can handle the time trial bike by loading the front wheel more than on the usual bike.
Right. So it sounds like weight distribution and also what you've mentioned a few times here that I want to touch on, the flexibility and mobility of joints and muscles will affect, what you do as a bike fitter and how you are positioning an athlete on the bike. So my question is, what do you normally look for in terms of flexibility? Is it, is it across the hip joint? Is it across the knee? Where are you looking and what would you recommend that athletes work on?
Yeah, this is a good thing. So this is a good question. I can tell you that like almost every athlete, with every client I host on my side, I ask the question, and the question is, are you doing stretching? And I can tell you that honestly, 9 out of 10.
It's a no.
Uh, I don't want to say we, because I am a cyclist as well, and I also skip. I have to be honest with audience. I also skip my stretching, stretching sessions as well. So 9 out of 10, including me, skipping or completely ignoring the stretching and their workouts, the
Right.
strength workouts and flexibility workouts. As a
Which
bike fitter,
Sorry,
go
I was
ahead.
going to say, when you're on the bike and especially in aero positions and time trial positions and whatnot, you're putting a lot of there are a lot of tissues that become adapted to certain positions. So, for example, the lats become very tight after sitting here, and same with the iliacus and psoas major, the hip flexor muscles. They become shortened because of the position that you're spending, and so stretching, could correct me if I'm wrong, help with that. Am I right? And I'm assuming that's something that you see quite often.
100%. You're 100% right. Of course, the stretching is the one of the most boring part of the cycling, but it's a crucial part of the success. If you not even so like some of their people who is listening us right now, we can say like, oh, come on, but I'm not going to participate like in a close future in any kind of like cycling events. I'm running with my friends. I'm running for myself. I am explore their the cities and the other countries by bike. So that's my goal. So it's not
So
really
why do I need
applicable
to
for me.
stretch?
But we are wrong as well, because once again, let's think about who we are on a bike. The cycling is not really natural for us kind of movement.
Right.
Our body is developed more for walking, for running,
Hmm.
yes. And the cycling we spend in a constant position hours, like Sunday ride, like here, like in Abu Dhabi, easy like 3-4 hours. Sunday, like Sunday morning, people
Hmm.
spend on the bike. So and your upper body is not moving that much, but what is moving a lot? Your lower limbs. And the thing is that because of like pedaling, if we talk about like the kind of like sport kind of their kind of like exercise on the bike, yeah, when you're riding like faster and like and then recreational riding,
Right.
so uh, you transfer much more force through your joints, through your feet, for example, and this kind of like the ligaments, the joints, were not developed exactly for these kind of movements, and
Not
we
just
repeat
that, but they take a
thousands of
long
times.
time to adapt to this kind of stuff. A lot of the time, the non-contractile, the ligaments and the joints and the tendons take a long time to adapt to this kind of training compared to muscle hypertrophy and stuff like that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and also because of the thousands of repetitions of the same movement during
Yep.
the one ride and the rides after, our muscles will also gain like the habit, let's say, and this habit or like habits in the movements will also uh, can be considered as a limitation factors, because if you
Right.
only pushing like okay like some advanced athletes will also can like not only push pedals but also pull if you are pull up the pedals if you are using the cleatless shoes, but generally we are limited in our movements on the bike. It's just unnecessary to do like our movements. Like we desire to have to see our legs working like pistons in an engine, ideally, because this
Yep.
is the I would say the most efficient way to transfer the power through the
Right.
pedals. Yeah, and if we will think about like, okay, like let's talk. So like hockey, for example, ice hockey. How many side movements, how many accelerations, and like how many twists every hockey player is doing. So it's completely different kind of movements. And of course, cyclists, we in some kind of the movements we become quite weak, like any kind of
Hmm.
side movements where it might affect the stability like in the ligaments and in the joints as well.
Right. Right. So what you're saying, and I hope I'm not misquoting you here, but it's definitely important to be stretching certain things, especially to combat not just increasing performance on the bike, but would you say it has an effect off the bike as well for our regular lives? Because I think when you tend to adapt your head, your neck looking up, I don't think that's a natural position to spend off the bike. Am I right? Or
100%. You're completely right, Elie, and also like look at the position on a TT bike. Like you're trying to be as small as possible. You're trying to reduce your frontal area to reduce the drag on the bike, and it's not that easy. And the most important is not that natural for us to crunch,
right.
to round the shoulders, to hide your head between your shoulders. So of course it's affect a lot, and it needs to be so there the proper strength and the stretching workouts needs to be done after I would say every ride.
Hmm.
Depends. depends on intensity, but the good habit is to have a stretching and like some strength workouts, such as a hip mobility, for example. The core exercises needs to be done after every ride, and especially like long rides. It should be active kind of recovery, because some many of riders will really like their like kind of other version of recovery. I mean, like a couple of beers after with friends, and you know, like it's not working. So like, I mean, it's working like if you want to socialize, but for your body, it's not helping at all.
Yeah.
So your
So
muscles
maybe
are
for your
your
social
muscles.
health, it's okay.
And next days you're gonna jump on a bike and do the same. Thousands of movements every time. And there are many of riders who are not really following their training plans. We
Hmm.
like to ride, we like to feel the power. That means that we like to ride intensive. And if you're riding intensively, you are using only specific muscle fibers
Right.
predominantly.
Right.
Yeah, and this is the short muscles,
Fast
which
twitch,
are
type 2A, type 2X, stuff like that.
exactly. And these muscles were more about their accelerations, short
Bursts.
time. Yeah,
Exactly. And I find that it kind of goes against the old school way of thinking where, put as many miles in the legs as you possibly can. But nowadays we're hearing a lot more about, the importance of recovery and actually taking the time to rest and recharge, which is like I still hear and see and work with athletes who are like, oh no, I don't recover. I don't take recovery days because then I'm kind of falling behind what other people are doing. And I understand the mentality because you don't want to fall behind, you don't want to be getting weaker, but actually recovery is what the time that allows you to adapt to your training and make you stronger. And so what would you recommend to an athlete who's just not taking their recovery seriously?
so that's a good question. Uh, be open-minded. That's what I would say. Because also, like, based on my more than a decade of their experience in the cycling industry, I would say that there, maybe it sounds weird here, but somehow the cycling is can be a little bit snobbish. So like some people would tell you like if you want to ride fast, you need to ride fast, and this
Right.
is true. From one side, this is true, but we are not like professionals, and we're not doing this on a daily basis. And it's important to understand that again, like maybe this is very common kind of like comparison, but like our if we will compare like with battery, yeah, we are limited in a certain amount of energy we have, in a certain
Hmm.
amount of capacity we have. And once we are reaching the limit of capacity, like how we need to replenish the resources. And the
Right.
flexibility, it's important for people who ignore the stretching or who think that it's okay, let me ride one more time instead of spend time at home with foam roller. This is a bad decision, because think about the stretching like about their also resource of your body, which you need to replenish, you need to respect, and then you can reach the higher level if you will always care about this part of your performance as well.
Right.
uh, in Instagram, like it's easy to check like many of the professional riders. You will see like any professional cycling team, we have own soft tissue therapists.
Hmm.
Sometimes it's not even one person. Sometimes this is
Quite
a
a
team
few.
of professional therapists who is doing the professional massage. So
Right.
why to do that? Yeah, this is a way of active recovery. The foam
Hmm.
rolling. This is a any track cyclist. I'm 100% sure Kelly Mitchell from Canadian national team on the track.
Yep.
Casey Mitchell, her name. Yeah, sorry. She's 100%. Foam rolling is her daily routine, 100%. And
Right.
this is the key of her success on the track.
Yeah, and that's recovery, and that's where that comes into play. So, We touched a little bit about this. You were talking a little bit about strengthening the core, and I want to make a little bit of a distinction between what most people think of core as, your six pack, versus everything else that the core actually entails. There are so many. Everything that's using to actively stabilize you, your transverse abdominis, everything, even your parts of your spine, working all the way up to your neck and down to your knees. So, what is the difference between training your six pack, doing some crunches, and actually training your core? And do you think that you're training your core can help you increase performance on the bike?
Yeah, 100% yes. And like again, like let's imagine we're doing the bike fit for individual, and here like we have a side view camera. We can see him sitting on a bike on a saddle holding the handlebar, and then like we have a contact point as the saddle and the handlebar,
Mm-hmm.
and then we have a gap in the between, and in this gap we have a torso.
Right.
So the torso needs to be supported as well. So many of their athletes, many of their keen cyclists, we struggling and suffering because of the lower back pain or because of their
Mm.
mm, muscle tension in shoulders, neck pain. Yes, the reason for such kind of discomfort can be different, but quite often this is a lack
Lack of core.
of the core strength, because you need this bridge between the main contact point saddle and other contact point handlebar to not
Right.
only load your hands on the handlebar, to not let them carry all their amount of weight you have in your upper body.
Mm-hmm.
So at that moment, once your core is engaged, like yeah, this is a much better and a much right uh, weight distribution.
Right.
And for athletes who is focused on a performance, you will find yourself that after, I guarantee you, after 1 or 2 months of constant strength training, after 2 months of the workouts specifically for your core, you will find yourself much more stable on the saddle first. You will find yourself moving less in the upper body.
Mm-hmm.
Just do the test. Ride with friends. Ask your friend to record the video with you, like from behind your
Yeah,
upper
you can.
body.
Are you shifting side to side every time you pedal, or are you actually maintaining
Exactly.
stiffness?
Exactly. And then like after a couple of months of constant workouts and the core strength trainings, try to do it again. Ask him to
Mm-hmm.
record, and you will see their huge difference. And all kind of these side movements. As I said, this is very important information for every performance focused athlete. Every kind of these side movements, we actually create their losses in the power. You
Right.
losing power. You are less.
It's
You
wasted.
yeah. You're just wasting power, and that's it. So how you gonna perform? How you gonna increase your potential? Like how you can grow your potential if you are rocking a lot? And you can imagine that if you're riding with high power and the lack of the core, you're moving even more, even
Right.
yeah, and then like it might cause there some other discomforts such as the saddle soreness.
Mm.
Easy.
Right. I see that often, and I've mentioned it to athletes before because you can be creating so much power and pushing power through the legs. But if you aren't able to create a level of core stiffness and maintain that throughout your time on the bike, that power is being wasted. We're spending thousands and thousands of dollars or dirhams or whatever on stiff bikes and stiff shoes and stiff things for a reason. And then we're wasting it when we aren't able to maintain a level of stiffness in the core. So we've talked about flexibility, mobility, and core. Would you say that, okay, you just saw an athlete, you did a bike fit for them, and they've now been working few months, 3, 4 months on their core, on their flexibility. Do they now have to redo their bike fit, or what would you say?
So my approach in the bike fitting for years already. I never leave my customers alone after the bike fitting. So the idea behind, after we done the bike fit, your body needs time to adapt to the position. Even minor adjustments, we might affect a lot. We might create a completely different position. I saw it multiple times, and I think every my customer, he or she knows that if I'm doing adjustments, sometimes it's millimeters. It can be a couple of millimeters. It can be like half a degree of tilting, and it's possible to feel the difference. And of course, after you adapt to the position, maybe some tweaks, some adjustments also can be done to make it perfect
Mm-hmm.
or to readjust. So usually I always provide my customers with follow-up, and I really recommend to do this. Yes, you are happy, you feel yourself much better after the bike fitting, but maybe this is not the perfection. Maybe we can do some more, and we can
Right.
do it better.
So
And
I have a question because I think I'm one of these. Do you ever have people where you are able to make such a tiny, tiny difference on the bike, and they feel it, like they feel everything, and it feels huge, but other athletes where you make a huge adjustment and they feel nothing?
like I like idea of the I like idea that to divide the riders, the cyclists, on the two types: the macro adjusters and micro absorbers.
That's funny.
And yeah, or like you can see a different way, like yeah. So like you probably you noticed that some of the riders, they can just quickly, like we can rent a bike, quickly adjust the saddle height, and then ride 200 kilometers. Some of their riders, they so picky that they can feel their half a degree saddle tilt difference.
Hmm.
And the thing is that maybe we are quite different, but the thing is that their cycling and their all kind of these movements, we create a cumulative effect. So maybe like up to 200 kilometers, you feel yourself perfect, even with like saddle, with quick adjustments, with like quick and dirty adjustments. But it not guarantee you that after half a year you will feel like significant pain, or like any kind of cyst might appear as well. I mean, I don't want to go in depth on an injury topic. I don't want to scare people, yeah. But as a good way to protect your body from the injuries or any kind of discomforts which might last for a long time, is to do the bike fit and be and stay in touch with your bike fitter. If you're happy with the service, I really suggest to build up the trustful relationships with your bike fitter, because uh, the good bike fitters were usually knowledgeable in a biomechanic, and we can share with you some very useful exercises and examples of trainings and workouts with what you can do out of saddle.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, so the follow up, and they're usually following up with your bike fitter, is a good idea. Also, kind of common myth, I would say. So I done a bike fit. It was pricey, and I think this bike fit is for rest of my life. It's a common myth, and I want to tell that. I want to say that nothing is constant in our body. We
Our
are
bodies are
some,
changing, they're
some of us.
dynamic. Right. There's always changes that are happening. You
Yeah,
train and you're adapting to that training, and now that adaptation is going to need, adjustments, I had a client who was I asked him, "Did you do a bike fit anytime recently?" And he's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Okay, cool. When's the last time you did a bike fit?" And he was like, 8 years ago. And I'm like, "Okay." That's
yeah.
it's a lot happens in 8 years.
100%. Like simply we can compare the weight and like how we change during the year, like, and also like even during the year, like our weight can change a lot. Depends on the climate conditions we are living, on the kind of intensity. Like some of us will working like shifts, or some people working like in some cold conditions, or like
Hmm.
me, for example, in quite hot conditions. So also I noticed that my body weight is changing, depends on the season, and
Right.
it's also it affects the balance between the muscles and the body fat, and all these together affect my body capacity and their flexibility as well, and the weight distribution. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Last question for you, and this is one that I am particularly interested in because I felt that this happened to me after our bike fit.
Please.
I felt that afterwards, not only was I like, I think I came to you, biggest thing was just lower back pain. And I think I set up my bike wrong because I was traveling. I brought it from Canada. I set it up. Definitely the saddle height was off. I didn't mark it. That was my bad. So not only did the lower back pain disappear, but I think I increased my FTP somehow. So is this just like empirical, like, oh, it's just some feeling, placebo effect, or is it like, can a proper position, proper weight distribution, and looking at all the science, does it actually have the ability to increase your FTP?
True. Yeah, this is true. Yeah, it's uh, I mean it's proven multiple times, and let me please give you like one of my last examples. Here in Abu Dhabi, I prepared their triathlon team for Ironman Barcelona, which happened just last weekend.
Oh wow.
And one of the female athletes, she came to me after the bike finish she did with me like around 2 months ago, and she came for follow up and for last check before the race. And she said, like, Victor, like, I have to tell you, like, while I'm doing the long session, like 3 hour session on the bike, so now like last couple of weeks, sometimes I even stop and I'm crying because I don't know, but I feel myself so weak. I lost my power.
Hmm.
Something happened. Probably like I overtrained like because she was like properly training for full Ironman distance, and she said probably I overloaded myself.
Hmm.
I feel like I'm not producing that power. She said like even my power meter says that I'm weaker. I'm 20 watts weaker than like when we did the bike fit. When we finished and I tried my new setup. So exactly in this room in this studio, I immediately put her bike on a trainer. I observed her position. I plugged in her power meter and I started just taking the readings from her power meter. And I saw yes, like her power is not that compare like how she. I can feel how she suffered. Her power is not that impressive and not as expected. And I immediately noticed that something happened with position and like overall with way she's pedaling. And what happened? Because of vibrations and probably because of some technical issues, her seat post during the last 2 months slided down slightly, millimeter by millimeter, and it's ended that her saddle was lower by almost 1.5 centimeter.
Oh wow.
And you can imagine that obviously if you're not able to do full range of motions, also your muscles we couldn't recover after contraction,
Hmm.
and that creates the fatigue and create overload in your muscles. We always engaged. We never have a relief, like for example on the bottom of the stroke.
Right.
Yeah, you
There's
have
like
a
micro rests.
yeah, micro rest exactly. And she has nothing like that. And once we increased, I checked the cell height and definitely was lower compared with my records, my measurements. We raised it up, and immediately the next day she messaged me that the power returned and she's ready, happy to go. And yeah, she's amazing. She's Ironman lady because she successfully completed their Ironman in Barcelona
It's
this
amazing.
Sunday. Yeah,
Those are
yeah,
hard. Those are hard. I have a funny story about that too, where when I started riding, I wanted to adjust my saddle height. This is like when I first started riding. I bought a bike. I adjusted the saddle height. I didn't have a torque wrench, and so I just tightened it up to whatever specification I thought was right in my head. And I go out for a ride. And as I'm riding, I feel myself getting shorter and shorter and shorter. And then about halfway into my ride, I'm like, something is really off. So I get up, I look on the thing, and it's like touching the bar. I'm like, what did I do? And so and then I spent the entire ride just standing up as I pedaled back home because I couldn't adjust the saddle height. So I learned my lesson. Always use a torque wrench. That's funny.
Yeah, yeah. This is very good, very good. I remember like my time back in St. Petersburg, because last 6 years in Russia I did the track cycling as an amateur cyclist, and it was a wonderful time. I discovered the track cycling for myself, and I was completely, I fall in love with this kind of this way of cycling,
It gives you
and
a freedom. It's nice.
yeah,
It's relaxing.
yeah, it's actually it's honestly it's another dimension. But we had very tough coach,
Mm,
and he was very tough, and like the discipline was always priority, and it's completely understandable because the track cycling is quite dangerous discipline. Like,
yeah.
and it's strongly related with injuries, with possibilities to fall down on very high speed. Of course, discipline is everything, is the key. So for some of my teammates who didn't really follow time to time the coach advices and prescriptions before their trainings, what he did before their trainings, he went to the storage with bikes, and he just lowered the saddle for some of them by half a centimeter without telling them.
That's funny.
And guys was struggling. They couldn't like push as hard as like just
They
like two
normally
days
do.
ago on the last training session, and we're upset during like next 20 minutes. And then he's coming and asking about like, so how is your power? And like, like my time is not really good. Like their standing start or flying left, we felt like we just failed. And then he said like, this is because you skipped my prescription last time. And then he adjusted back the saddle height. And yeah, so I
That's
noticed
so
really,
funny.
so it's a good idea. Like if you have some competitive friends who's really like want to beat you on their coffee ride, so be careful. Always have a mark on your seat post. Where is your exact right?
That's so funny. Very smart coach. Very smart coach. That's hilarious.
Yeah, maybe the task. Yeah, maybe true. Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah.
Well, Victor, I appreciate your time today, and I appreciate you, answering all my questions here. And yeah, thank you for taking the time and giving me this opportunity.
My pleasure, really, and thank you for having me today. I hope like everything I shared with your audience, with you, it's makes sense. And yeah, let's make the cycling great again, as I always say. And I wish everyone to ride free of injuries, to discover the pleasant world of cycling. It's never too
Mhm.
late to start cycling, and I wish all of you to have your bike, ride it, and be happy. Thank you.
Right, and unlock your full potential because there's a lot we're missing out, right?
Yeah, do stretching as well.
Awesome. I appreciate your time. Thank you, everyone. And for those listening, go out and get a bike fit if that's step one right now, and get a bike fit from a reputable bike fitter, someone who is not just kind of eyeballing it and saying, all right, you're good to go, but someone who takes the time to get to know you and your needs and who you are as a cyclist and the kind of riding that you're doing and go from there. So thank you again. And for those listening,
Thank
thank you
you.
for joining us.